Hey, welcome back to What the Helvetica. We got a real humdinger today with our special guest, Chris Thomas.
Join Mike, Janda, and guests to discuss the things that make creative people say, "What the hell, Vetica?"
Who's been a friend of mine for the last 5 years. He has done the full breadth of experimentation when it comes to scaling an agency. Based in Atlanta, he's done some huge projects, he's worked with big clients, and he's tried every single possible way to scale, with some failures along the way, a lot of education along the way, and success along the way as well. So we're going to talk about some of that journey, extract some lessons that we can learn from it, and maybe a little bit of inspiration for you as you're working through your creative career. So Chris, thank you for being on What the Hell, Vetica.
I love it, man. This is great. This is perfect. I'm glad I converted you to flat bill hat, Janda.
Yes. So this is the vintage Yonder Agency. Chris's agency is YNDR, Yonder, and this was his last hat when it was YONDR. How did you get a 4-letter domain? What did you pay for your 4-letter domain? Because that's hard to get.
So the joke is, everybody's like, well, how did you do it? I was like, well, I couldn't afford the vowels. So yonder.com was
is
for
Y
sale.
not a vowel? Why isn't a vowel in your...
Is it a vowel? I don't know, man.
I don't know. Sometimes Y. It's like A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y or something like that.
I don't know, because my son asked me, hey, Dad, what is a pronoun? I was like, oof, I don't know, buddy. And I was like, sometimes there's a noun that just needs to go pro. It's like being in the minor leagues, and then you just work your way up. He wrote that down, and I got in trouble a lot. So, but anyway.
You did get in trouble.
My wife was like, what are you teaching our son? I'm like, education. That's what I'm teaching. And, No, so like YNDR was available, but Yonder.com, this is a crazy story. And the lady reached out. She spent $250,000 on Yonder.com. And she's like, hey, you can only pay $225,000. I was like, I don't know. My wife would leave me if I did this. And then, so I kept trying to work her down, and I was like, you know what? I've always had YNDR, and it hasn't been for sale, and it came up for sale, and I snagged it for $1,200, which was crazy.
Wow, that's killer. For a 4-letter domain, that's amazing.
Yeah. And everybody around here, and it's random. It's funny. I updated the Yeti, didn't mean to be my face. A designer helped me do it. One of my favorite guys, and up in Cincinnati, and I was like, just make it fun. The other one I have is too, Yeti-like, and I printed a 7-foot version of this Yeti on my shirt and hat. And I turned around, I was like, is that my face? Like, I had to call him, and I was like, I have a cutout of this Yeti. You got my face. Like, how narcissistic can a person be? And
I am dropping it on the screen for those of you that are watching the video version of this. This is the Yonder Yeti. Does this Yeti have a name?
Teddy.
I knew that.
Teddy the Yeti.
I knew you had told me before. Yeah. So this is your face on the new version of the Yonder Yeti.
Apparently so, because like everybody comes by. Like we do a lot of like different events, and we have a 7-foot cutout because I just wanted to be fun. And there's so many pictures of just random people that just take pictures of this big cutout. And I'm just like, this is nuts. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's become a very big character. We have a shirt out right now that says hide and seek champ, which is pretty fun.
I love it. My kids for a long while got into the Bigfoot hunters or Bigfoot, Finding Bigfoot. That was the show. Yeah. I'm not a believer, I'm a knower. That was the phrase. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm not a believer, I'm a knower.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, let's talk for a second about your agency. And just to set the stage for everybody to know the level that you've played at, what's the biggest project you've ever landed? What was the dollar figure?
It was just over $500,000. And that was actually how we met. I don't know if you remember this or not.
I do. I remember. Yeah.
So you I knew you when you had 4,000 followers, and
I know. That was like my first week of sharing content on Instagram. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was, and I just randomly saw your stuff. I read your book, and I came from the corporate world, and I was like, I don't know how to run an agency. I know how to like hide in meetings all day and not actually do some work. And so I actually took your course, and then I called you and I said, hey man, I've been a consultant. I don't really have like an agency or a brand or anything. And I was like, could you help me close this deal? And you're like, oh, cool. And you're like, what is it, like $20,000, $30,000? And I was like, I don't know if this is right or not, but I think it could be like a $500,000 project. And you looked at it, and I'll never forget, you were laughing. You're just like, well, I never expected somebody to like follow this or even get to this part this quickly in my thing. And so I was really proud of you. I didn't send you a commission
I was
check.
really proud of that too. Because I had projects that big at my agency, and when I released my course and had people following those systems and having that level of success, I was really, really proud of that. I've been proud of you since the very start of you starting this thing. I mean, you didn't even have any employees. I think you were still working full time when you were landing that project, right?
Yeah. I had talked to my wife. I was like, I think I want to like be a consultant. And she's like, can you wait for like a couple of years? And I was like, I don't know. Like, and all of a sudden I just started doing just speaking events and just saying, hey, I can consult with you or whatever. And I had a couple of projects that were just crazy. And
you had another one that was an app for like $300,000 or something. Wasn't that one of the projects you had? Yeah. I remember you had landed that. What other big ones? What other big dollar figures have you had on your engagements?
That was kind of, there was one more like app. It was actually a web app and a marketing thing combined. So Yonder, it's just a little like a weird background. I'm like the Forrest Gump of situations, to be honest. So I honestly don't even know how I ended up here. So the whole thing is, I had climbed the corporate ladder. I was the global head of product development marketing for a Fortune 100 company. And I left there because I was making them money and I wasn't getting anything. And what I realized is, I could be a product development and marketing firm. And that was, we were going to help people plan out their application and then go and market it. Cause that's what I'd been doing for years. And, I mean, the day that COVID happened was the day that Yonder officially launched, which was crazy. Like I think it was that trucker hat I picked up from my manufacturer, and they're like, too bad this COVID thing's happening. I was like, what's that? And I just, so we pivoted from product because I think I called you. I was like, dude, I lost 8 projects in one week. And I was like, what am I going to do? And so I went local business, and medium-sized business, because they didn't know the internet existed in 2020, apparently.
Yeah. And that was the era that you were focusing a lot on restaurants and social media and stuff, helping barbecue. Okay. That's one of your descriptions of you is that you're 40%. What do you say? You're 40% creative. I have it on your landing page here. 40% creative, 40% strategic, and 20% barbecue.
For sure.
Now, is it really that, or is it more like 60% barbecue, 20% creative, 20% strategitic? That's probably more what it is.
If you talk to my heart doctor, he would probably say 82%.
That's what it is.
I'm very healthy. Please don't send me health advice, because I get that a lot. They're like, man, you look swollen. I'm like, no, this is just the camera. It's not.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's age, man. You get to a certain phase in life, and all of a sudden you're just bigger than you were in earlier phases. That's what it is. Thickness comes.
I will say it's not fair that we've known each other 5 years. You haven't aged a bit. I look like a baseball mitt that's under a kid's bed. Like, that's how much I've aged. Like, this was black. I look,
Yeah, I do have a picture on your homepage right now that it is a much darker beard on there. Yeah.
Learn from me, kids, if you want to keep your color.
Here's the trick, dude. Here's the trick. This is my trick to not aging. Shave your head, shave your face. Nobody sees what really ages you the most, which is receding hairline, graying hair and stuff. I just hide it. So everybody's like, man, Mike, you haven't changed in 30 years. It's because I started shaving my head 30 years ago. And I don't grow out my beard very often.
I have clients all over all ages, and it's funny when he probably, if he watches this, he's gonna now know I'm gonna break his heart. But he was like almost mid 60s, almost 70s, and he was sitting there, and it was a big group of people. He's like, in our generation, and I was like, what? And I was like, I don't
speak for yourself, man.
I've never had a milkman, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. And I couldn't break his heart, but I'm very age ambiguous and race ambiguous, apparently. So there's too many ambiguities about myself. So
you are American through and through, because that describes a lot of America.
That's right.
That's there. Right. Very hybrid people. Okay. Let's talk about this agency journey that you had. So we talked a little bit about how you got started. How many eras do you think you had? I was trying to count them in my head, but how many defined eras of your agency have you had, do you think?
I think right now I'm on my fourth one. I think
so too. That's what I counted. So era number one, I guess if we don't count era number one as you as just you, because if we count just you, that was an era, it didn't last very long, but let's say that's era number one, where you were full on solopreneur, freelancer, consultant, just solo. That's right. Era number two, what did you try to do to scale in era number two?
So I thought by hiring my competitors, I was like, well, let me find somebody better than me. And then I was like, let me just start to scale. I think at that time, man, dude, you've seen behind the scenes so much too. And I'm happy to share about it. So I think I was right at like 30 or 50 grand a month in revenue. And I was like, oh, I must have to hire people, because I was running, I think 22 clients by myself at the time, doing SEO ads, building websites. It was nuts. And, I'm not a jack of all trades, but I'm a master of some, apparently. But so I started hiring and thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start delegating. But the problem was, like, I didn't know how to delegate. It was more of like, okay, well, you come into my place and we'll start, growing this thing together. But I never explained my vision. I never explained my process. I never explained how I even got to, a client. I remember one time we were in a client meeting, and the client had a budget of 20 grand, and we walked out with a signed contract of 125 grand. And everybody's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, oh, well, we've been talking about this. And then I realized we hadn't been talking about it. And I started scaling too fast, and, oh, you should hire this person. You should hire that person. I know this guy from this guy, or whatever.
What level of people were you hiring during that? Sorry for jumping in, but what level of people were you hiring? Because you said you were hiring your competitors, or you were trying to find people that are better than you, or really top flight people. Is that the type of people you were trying to hire then? Because I remember an era where you were hiring more production level people as well.
That's right. I was trying
to find... Which era was this?
This was the second era, because I thought, if I find production level folks that have worked with at least 30 or 40 clients per month, then they would know how to scale Yonder to 50 clients per month. And not realizing that production folks are great, but they're in that producing role because there's been a visionary, the one carrying them to that 50 mark. And I realized very quickly that didn't work, because it just got really tough. And then, the next era was...
Well, that's what you can't jump ahead without telling how this one fell on its face. This era, let's define this era. This is the hire and hope era. Yeah, it's hire and hope. You're hiring people. You're hoping that they know something you don't know about running a business, scaling a business, finding the clients, managing the clients, all those things. You're hoping that they know something either as well as you do or something you don't know. And most often that's not the case. And I tell people this, it's because the people that you're hiring, if they were as good as you, then they would be hiring their own people. Right. They would be having their own business and they would be scaling themselves. Now, this isn't to say that they're never going to be capable of that, because a lot of them are. What you're looking for when you hire is you 3 years ago or you 5 years ago, not you today. And this hire and hope model where we just kind of hire them, don't delegate, you just put them in a chair and say, okay, help me scale this thing. They don't know because they're not you today. They're you 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and you barely know how to do it today. So I think sometimes we give too much hope in somebody that we're hiring. And I love what Gary Vee says about this. You can't expect these people to work as hard as you because they don't own the freaking company. And I made that mistake in the early years of my agency too, expecting my employees to treat the business as their business and to want it to grow. But in the end, that's an unfair expectation. It's unfair expectation. Well, so how did this fall apart for you, this one?
Yeah. So I remember sitting there trying to go, hey, look, we got a 2-week deadline. And one thing that I learned a long time ago is don't ask your employees to do something that you're not willing to do or you haven't done before. And I was like, look, we got 2 weeks to build a website and we got and to do a video. And everybody was like, that's impossible. I was like, no. I was like, it's not. Here's the thing, blah, blah, blah. And it started to fall apart when I realized that I was having to give all the instructions. Like I was having to be, and I would just lay in the middle. I mean, I thought for sure running my own business, I was going to be able to play golf most weeks. And I was just like laying in bed at night. I'm like, oh man, I gotta do all this stuff and I gotta explain all of these things. And it started just eat away at me. I mean, I joke about my weight, but it was just like every meal was inside my office, but it was almost like I was having it catered in my office because I was just like, dude, I got to get this stuff done. And I realized that I was just thrashing a lot. It was just trying to get the right formula together, and I just didn't know what I was doing. And for those folks that if they do watch this, that did work for me, I'm so sorry. I
know. I feel that too, man. I feel that. Like I think of some of those early employees, and I am sorry too. I'm sorry. Like I was doing the best I could at the time, but the scaling and the growth, and we were doubling our billings a couple years in a row, and it was so much work so fast that it was unmanageable. And it did have an effect on some of the employees that I had in those early days. And I feel bad about that. It had an effect on me too. I feel bad about that for myself as well, but I don't expect any of them to feel bad for me in that situation. That most of them left to much bigger and better opportunities for them and to art director and creative director roles and things. And Riser, my agency, just became a stepping stone in their journey. And I'm happy for that, for those people too. But it's a tough road. So I like that you said your apologies to those people.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish I could have given severance to everybody that ever worked for me, but I think I would have 7 mortgages by now. But some folks I was able to say, hey, here's a month. I'm sorry. Like this doesn't. And I would recommend.
Did you let all these people go in era number 2? Did you let them all go at once, or was it scaled down to just? You scaled down to a couple people.
Yeah, it was almost like the phrase, the writing was on the wall of like, okay, well, Chris is looking at our production level, and Yeah. So it was tough for sure. And era number one was even just year number one. It wasn't even, because it's 4 different eras, and Yonder turned 4 last month, which is
exactly. It's been a new adventure every year.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was era number 1. You ended up laying people off over time, and then you went into the first big pivot of a new strategy to scale. What was the next big pivot for you?
I thought by hiring, because at this time I was right under the 6-figure a month, revenue mark, and I was just I'll tell my goal later, or maybe I should tell my goal now of like the revenue that I wanted. And this is I'm just very competitive. And so the goal that I wanted was by the end of the second year, $225,000 a month was my goal in revenue. I wanted to have enough billings to get there. And because I thought that's what I needed. Right. And so when I went and I hired my counterparts from corporate, because the world shut down, and then like corporate folks were starting to look for jobs. They're like, well, maybe I should work for a small business. And I scooped them up. I was like, hey, I can match your salary. I could do this, and, we'll have a good time. And again,
so this was higher level people, corporate level, higher level people. Yeah. How many of those people at that level did you hire during that time?
I had 5. I had 5 folks so I had a incredible project manager, and till this day, I don't think I'll, whoever becomes a PM behind him, I don't think he was incredible. And so incredible PM, incredible writer, and then a very high level CTO, then a product specialist, and then somebody that was really, good with clients and everything else. And it was good. It was good for a while. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was really good. Like things where it fell apart was
you got some sick office space during that era.
Yeah.
If I recall. And I know your numbers were good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened? What happened in that?
Yeah. So
in that era.
So that lasted a good while, and then I've gotten better with not being emotional at this point. So basically, things were really good, and then I've learned a lot about leadership. Like I thought I read all the books. I thought that I was a good leader, and then I realized I was reading the wrong books. And then I was like, okay. And so the thing that happened to me was it was just a rude awakening, because I never would have thought during the good days something personally would have happened. And my wife called me and said, hey, our 6-year-old, he was 6 at the time, had to have emergency open heart surgery. And
I remember this.
It was devastating.
Well, and do you mind sharing the full story of that? Because this
absolutely.
I'll just let you tell it, but this is one of those, there's more going on in this life than what we sometimes realize kinds of stories. So share that whole story about how that transpired.
Yeah. So, it's, whether people, we surround ourselves in faith and stuff. And, I never really, when I say this kind of stuff, people, I don't, the prophecy stuff or whatever, but I was working so hard and I was under a lot of stress, and, I was supposed to go to Orlando with a client, and, he called and I was like, hey, I have to cancel. My son is having a CT scan, and he's going to have open heart surgery, and yada, yada, yada. And I was saying doctor stuff that wasn't even my vocabulary. And, And so my wife was in the truck with me, and my wife is 5 foot tall, and if you get her mad, I mean, it's like she becomes like 8 foot tall. And she got mad. She's like, "You just used our son as an excuse." I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, he's having a CT scan and he's having heart surgery." She's like, "No, that didn't happen." And I was like, "Yeah, we went 2 weeks ago." And I think I was in so much stress or something, like, I don't know what it was. And my wife was like, "I think you just kind of made that up." Well, he had the CT scan that Thursday, and the next morning my wife calls and said, "Hey, everything you said was right, and he's going to have emergency heart surgery." And I was like, it was almost like a wake up call to me of like, oh man, like this is nuts. What are we going to do? Who's going to run the business and all of that? And so a year ago, this past Christmas, my son had emergency heart surgery 2 weeks before Christmas, and we were like prepared for it. And I think honestly, because of all the stress and everything else, like I wasn't eating, like there was so many different like stress levels. And while I was in the hospital, the day of my son's having surgery, I get a call from a client, and they were just informing me that they're putting us on notice. And I was like, "Why?" And one of my employees, said some choice words apparently. And then like 2 hours later, I got another phone call from another client, and it says, "Hey, look, we've already paid you for this, but one of your other employees just said it's going to take an extra 100 days to get something done." And I was like, "What?" And so then it was nuts. And this is the day that my son is under the knife, and I started to get angry. And then I was like, all right, I'm not going to think about work. And when I got back, we're from Georgia, and so we had to drive to Kentucky. I was fuming. My son is fine now. He's very healthy, and we had some complications, you don't know how to value life until I'm holding my son in the hospital. And I thought he was dying in my arms. That was the complication. Like both of his lungs were partially collapsed, and that was my focus. And I left Kentucky just fuming because one, I was very thankful my son was alive, but two, I was like, I can't leave for like a week without craziness happening. I was like, why is this happening? Yeah. And I had just signed a lease on a brand new cool office space. We converted it into looking like a lodge, like very campy. And I called, a friend of mine that was the landlord. Luckily, that was a huge surprise. And I just said, "Hey, look, I'm shutting down the office. I'm letting everyone go." And he was like, "Why?" And I explained what happened to my son. I was like, I'm gonna shut all of this stuff down. Like I'm doing great in revenue, but I just lost a lot of it in the last 48 hours. And when I got back, I made the phone calls, and a lot of people were in shock. A lot of people weren't in shock. And when I shut the space down, I think I called you and I said, "Well, I'm back where I started," and I was in my basement. Yeah. And, but it was great because I realized I was happy, and realizing that, I get to, take my son to school every day. I got to pick him up from the bus stop every day. I like scaled down to clients to where it was manageable for me. And I hid out for a long time. And that era was wild. It was very crazy.
That era with the higher level employees, losing the clients, having your son have the emergency surgery. It's interesting that you went back to you in the basement. I almost did that in 2014 or so. On my list of options was, hey, I don't need this much money anymore, what I was making in my agency. I don't need that level anymore. I could scale back to a few manageable sized clients and just crank out the stuff myself and probably take home similar amount of profit from what I'm getting out of my multi-million-dollar agency. And I thought about doing that too, because there's some kind of peace in knowing that you can do all of the crap that you're promising your client. Yep. There is some invaluable peace in knowing that. And if I ever started an agency again, I probably wouldn't take on any project that I couldn't just execute myself when push came to shove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so I'm not surprised that you did that for that next era after coming out of the stressful era 2 or 3, whichever one we're on. Now we're on, that was era 2. That was era 2. And then we're going to era 3.
Yeah. 3 was interesting because, there's only so much I can say about that one because, a lot of
still some stuff floating around with that.
Yeah. But when, I can put it this way, you've never truly arrived. Like some people go, when I get to this point, I've arrived. Like there's nothing else I got to do. And when that was on my plate, I was vulnerable still, like with my kid and just like, I think I was just, if folks are listening to this or are watching this, like, and I've told you this before, what happens when your goals, so you and I sat down, I'll never forget it. We wrote down our quarterly goals. We wrote down our yearly goals. And one of my yearly goals was to hire 15 people. And I hired 15 people. And the other one was to reach 150 in revenue per month consecutively.
Monthly revenue. Yeah.
Monthly revenue for 90 days. And I did that. And I remember calling you, or maybe I texted you, and I said, what happens when the dreams and goals you complete just suck the wind out of you? Like I was just like, this is the worst. Like and I thought for sure, like I was going to, I don't know, man. I thought like my phone was going to ring off the hook and people were going to be like, teach me your ways. And I'm going to spend you I'm going to send you a check in the mail for you to just, it was horrible. And I realized I was like, what is my dream? Like, what is it that I want to do? And this third era was a very crazy awakening. And
let's talk about this goal thing, though. I like that. Let's talk about this because I think there's value in this concept. I had the same thing happen to me. When I first got into I got over the fear of hiring, and I had like 5 employees, and I got my first office space. And I remember sitting there thinking, man, someday I'll have 12 employees and I'll feel like then I made it. I made it. And then it was like a freaking year and a half later and I had 12 employees and I still felt like the same loser that I always felt like. I didn't feel like I was on the top of the mountain, putting my flag in the ground and raising my hands up to cheer myself for the great accomplishment. All that happened is I got to the top of that mountain of 12 people. And then I started looking at all the agencies with 20 or 30 people. And I started thinking, I thought I'd feel different with 12, but really I just feel like the same. This didn't change anything for me. And that's what I've seen happen with goals. When people tell me, oh, you need to have your 10-year goal and that kind of thing, I think you need to have a 10-year vision, but not a 10-year goal, because usually the goals that we set for ourselves are so wussy that they're not going to feel that great when you accomplish them. This is going to be like, okay, well, I did it. Now what's next? Like the human endeavor is all about continued progress and what's next on the list. I found, I don't find tons of satisfaction when I finally get to put the flag in the ground. I just find myself looking for the next place to plant my flag.
Yeah. Well, and I can talk about that. Like basically I thought by having opening 4 offices was
Mm-hmm.
going to be my thing. That was era number
Mm-hmm.
3. I was
Yeah.
like, this Yeti is going to be everywhere. And I was like, this is not good. This is not great. And, it's just like, I wanted to take over the whole Southeast. I wanted to be known.
Yeah.
And I know people were going like, who is this guy or whatever? Like, and I don't even, the only way that I can tell people and make people understand like how I even got to this point is if Don Draper's dad and Tommy Boy's mom hooked up, that's who I am. Like,
That's you.
I know how to get along with folks, and I have these big visions. Like, just give me the room. And people would give me the room, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to open a Tampa office. I'm going to open an Asheville office. I'm going to, I want to have an office where I can travel over in, Colorado or whatever. Yeah. And it wasn't the right thing. Like, it just is not the right thing. And
so you tried you tried one big way to try and accomplish that vision in era 3. And we can't talk in detail about it because some things are still sorting out through that. But they're still there. What was the demise of that? I know you can't tell the details of that, but let's just say, when did that end, and what are you planning for era number 4, and how is it going to be different than these other attempts at scaling to this substantial agency dream?
So I realized that I think most leaders are like this. You're like this, I'm like this, and a lot of the folks that I've talked to, you cannot take your hand off the wheel if you're the one building the company from the ground up. And there comes a time when you can take your hand off the wheel, but this was too early.
How'd that go for you? How'd that go for you?
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard.
I took my hand off the wheel for about 6 months, and it was horrible. It was horrible.
That's how long. Yeah.
I had to come back and repair some stuff. And that was after 11, 12 years of running my agency, and with some people that had been with me a long time, and it still was a challenge. That was an error on my part. I look at it, I'm like, why did I do that? Why didn't I realize that the secret sauce of my agency was me and my relationships and my motivation and drive and ambition? That was the secret sauce. Yeah. And I tell people this a lot now. I've probably told you this. It's that, man, you're the gem. You're the gem. Yeah. You're getting refined and, polished over time through these experiences, but you're the gem, and you got to keep your hand on the wheel. The ones who get to take their hand off the wheel are the ones who have these mega mergers, I think. These, That's right. You have the Crispin Porter Boguski agency, well, you got somewhere there was a Crispin, and somewhere there was a Porter, and somewhere there was a Boguski, and they merged together, and now each of them can take their hand off the wheel a little bit, I assume. I don't know anybody at those agencies, but that's just an example of these multi-name agencies that maybe they get it. Maybe. But you, me, all the agencies in the world that have 50 people or less, you don't get to take your hand off the wheel. You got to keep driving the truck. Trying to be like a Georgia guy. Yeah. Got to keep driving the truck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's, there was so many times that, it's like you like reach in the back seat to get something and you start to weave off the road. That's how I was like, every single time. And the thing that I realized, most agencies grow from either acquisitions of another agency. So they feel like they've exploded with growth. Well, all they really did was, this agency over here is dying, or they don't want to do it anymore, and they're selling it for pennies on the dollar, or they're really good at what they do and they've just kept going and kept going and kept going. But the thing is like, you can tell which ones gave a piece of the pie to those people that helped them to keep going and building that brand. And I think with me, it's like, I'm really good at like selling something, building it, and marketing it. And that's all you need with like running a firm is those three key aspects. And you're exactly right. Like I literally was like, why do people even buy from Yonder? And it's not because of my personality or anything like that. I give so much stuff away for free to people before they even sign up, because it's like, and other agencies and people don't understand. They're like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. I'm like, why not? It's my business.
Give an example of what you're giving away for free. Because I did the same model. I didn't even charge for strategic anything for freaking 10 years in my agency. But what is it? How do you do that? Like, and I know you have a recent client that you've given a lot of value.
Yeah.
What is the value you've given to them, and how is that materializing into work for you?
So I'll talk about the recent client for sure. They just came on board, and I was asked by a friend of mine. They're like, "Can you just look at this company?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And they really didn't know who I was, and my background, which and we can get into background here in a second. But the thing is like, I just walked. By the way, this is my uniform. Like, I don't change. I wear the same hat. I wear the same glasses, and I walked into a room full of suits, right? And people way smarter than me. They have a lot of different initials next to their name, right? And I walked in, and I was like, "Well, tell me what the issue is." And they're like, "Look, we've hired this agency. We pay them $15,000 a month, but actually we found out just 5 minutes ago we pay them $24,000 a month." I was like, "Oh." And they're like, "We're losing almost $1 million a month in revenue." And I was like, I was like, "Okay, well, just fire the agency," And they're like, "But we don't have proof." And what they didn't know is within 10 minutes, I can go on any platform, SEMrush, Search Atlas, Ahrefs. You guys can just do an audit yourself, and you can see the data behind it. But what I started doing was, okay, let's look at their website. Let's look at their traffic. Let's look at how they position themselves and what's their history and everything else. And I have 4 things that I go through: is the target, the problem, the action, and the goal. If you have those 4 things, you can do that for anything. If you're building a website, okay, what's the target? Okay, what's the problem? What's the action? What's the goal? And when I do that, look, I'm dumb as a brick. I probably have a 3rd grade education. So and I went in there and I said, "Hey, I just have an idea of what I think your company is." And I broke it down into the four, and I refuse to call it core 4. It's too easy to call it core 4. But anyway,
and somebody's got to have core 4 something. There's probably core 5, core 6, core 7, core 12. You got all the cores they're taking.
I'm trying to figure out how to like not even number it. I just have maybe a acrostic or whatever it's called.
I got it for you. Just a sec. It just came to me. Take the word Yeti and use each letter of Yeti for one of the 4 things, like
I'm doing
your target. And then what's the problem? Evoking problem or something like that. So it spells out Yeti. Spells out Yeti. Yeah. T, the action, I don't know what it is. Tactile action or something. There you go.
I'm gonna watch the recording. You're more eloquent than me. I was about to say y'all people.
People
for targets, but y'all people.
That works too. Yeah. That still works for Yeti.
That fits in my brain.
For the Yeti acronym.
And there's like these 20 just very, and I walked it through and I said, "This is where you're at right now." And they were like, "How are we supposed to know that?" I was like, you don't. You don't know it. You're good at what you do. I'm good at what I do. The agency sold you something. And here's the other thing. I will tell everybody, I'm there to guide and not divide. If you have an agency, and this is what I told them in the room. I said, my job is not for you to fire them. My job is to give you something to say, "Hey, we need to go this direction, and just, here's the blueprint, here's the navigation, here's the roadmap, whatever you want to call it, give it to them and say, you have 90 days or you're gone. Mm-hmm. And they were just like, well, how would we fix it? And I was like, well, I'm glad you asked. And I said, mm-hmm. This is what your website could look like. This is an ad of what it could look like. Well,
you designed work for them?
I did. Designed their website. I did a whole campaign, a video, all of that. And we launched it, a week ago Wednesday.
What part of that did you do for free? I know the diagnosis, the Core 4 Yeti diagnosis, but what did you do? Design comps for free? Did you just verbally strategize? What did you do?
I designed I designed 4 different pages and their sales process of here's where they should go. This is what happens. And I was like, give it to your agency. And they were just like, well, what do we owe you? I was like, you don't owe me anything. I was like, just tell your friends about me. Like that's, and I literally got a call that evening from one of the folks, and they just said, hey, I need you to just go ahead and do this, because we don't even know how to even tell these people what to do. And so we launched the campaign within 72 hours. I think we doubled their business, and it's bananas. And now we've become like the proof of concept that it can work in this industry. And it's crazy. And so we're fixing a lot of other things, their whole entire customer workflow and like all of this stuff. And it would have never happened if I just didn't say, hey, here's my proposal and I'm gonna walk out.
Yeah. How long did you spend, do you think, on the consulting piece and the comps and stuff to entrench them into the trust factor? How many hours do you think you spent on that?
I'm kind of giving it away, but the thing is like my 20 years experience, I should be able to knock something out in 2 hours. If I can't do it in 2 hours, it's above my pay grade or below it. I don't even know. Above my pay grade. If I can't figure out your problem within 2 hours, to give something away for free, because my hourly rate, I don't even know what it is, but it's one of those, my mindset is I'm willing to take 2 hours to solve their problem and either have a client out of it and have a trusted client out of it, or have somebody go, this guy that must have ate paint chips as a kid walked in and showed us this whole entire thing, and he didn't even ask for a dime. He's an idiot because we have something, and somebody else sees it and goes, who did that for you? And I have that happen all the time. And I mean, I don't have clients all the time.
So if we take it, let's just say that the total investment of time, you were a couple hours here, a couple hours there, a couple hours in meeting and stuff. Let's just say that it was a 10-hour batch of time that you spent. And let's say that your rate that you are valued in the marketplace is $500 an hour. You made a $5,000 investment into landing a client who is easily going to be 6-figure plus a year client for you. And in the future with referrals and everything, you're probably going to be able to use this as that linchpin of a $1 million engagement over a few years of time.
That's right.
So if you look at that, there's the mindset of don't pitch that exists in the industry. That you should be paid for pitching. You should be paid for this. And I don't agree that it's always that way. I think that you take everything on a case-by-case basis. And there are some times when you should go in and you should give them a whole bunch of strategy for free and design some comps and hope for the best and see if you land it. I think that is a strategy that should be in your sales toolbox. I also think there's a strategy of going into the meeting and saying, you have this problem. I want to solve it for you. Let's engage in a $10,000 strategy engagement and we will solve that problem. And then you're going in and you're doing the comps and you're doing all the targeting and positioning and all the stuff that you need to do to solve that problem. That should be in your toolbox too. But I'm never a fan of people saying that it's always this way or always that way. This idea, yes, sometimes you pitch, and no, sometimes you don't, and you take it all on a case-by-case basis. If you hadn't done that, you would not have this six-figure plus client dropping into your workflow right now.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, that client is speaking at a conference this week, and they're showcasing my work in front of their industry.
Yeah, and then people are going to say, "Hey, who did that?"
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, you're getting more phone calls.
If you're not willing to, and I call it a loss leader, right? It's you're gonna like win some and you're gonna lose some, but at the end of the day, and I don't do work for free for everybody, right? The case by case basis, and the reason is the perceived value that people see it as. If they would have called me and said, yeah, we know this, we know that, or whatever, and they didn't pretend like they were lost, I wouldn't have done it for free, because they're never going to know. They would just be like, oh, this guy, he's just trying to get a job or whatever. Like literally what I said is, hey, I took time out of my day to do this for you. And, and I explained to him, I was like, I really get paid a lot of money to do this thing right here, what I'm about to show you. There's companies that will spend a weekend with me and will pay $25,000 to know this stuff, what I'm about to give you. And they saw it. They were like, they were like, yep, we get it. And
that's a good hedge against it. Like, tell them the value before you do it. You got to be careful that it doesn't sound like kind of used car salesman kind of vibe to it. But there's a way to do it. But make sure you articulate the value and articulate that it is usually paid, but you're willing to do it right now because you can see it so clearly. And then you bust out the dry erase board and you show them you connect the dots for them.
And how you do that is you use it. If a person refers you to it and say, because you came through so-and-so, I'm doing this for you. Because that's the real connection is like, that he really is doing us a favor. And I mean, I really valued my friendship with this person, and they've seen the work that I'm doing. And, but it doesn't always happen that way. I get phone calls all the time. Will you help my buddy? And I'm like, no.
I like that. Okay, so because you're friends with so-and-so, I'm going to do this for you right now. Or because I love your industry so much, I'm going to do this for you right now. Or I've really admired your business for so long, I'm going to do this for you right now. Because I have time right now, I'm going to do this for you right now. I'm not going to, because I have some bandwidth to spare. There are all kinds of ways that you could justify using your time for that. Chris, let me tell you a story of one of these times when I got sold through this model and it was great. And I loved it at the end. So when we moved into the house we live in now, we contacted a landscaper and we told them, hey, we've already got a yard in here, but we don't like it. We want to know what could you do for kind of somewhere between 30, 40, 50 grand, somewhere in there. And so he came over and spent an hour with us talking about the yard and some ideas and stuff. Then he did a little design 3D model comp of what he wanted to do. And then he showed us the 3D model comp of the back of our house and the whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this looks freaking amazing. And then he goes and shows the price, and it was 90 grand for this version. And my initial reaction was I was pissed because I was like, man, I told you I had like 40, 50 grand and you're showing me a $90,000 yard. I'm frustrated by this. Guess what I spent on my yard? 90 grand. I was like, but you know what? I want the picture. I want the 3D model. So he took a risk and he spent his time. He spent his design time. And what did it yield? It yielded $40,000 more revenue than I was originally willing to part with. But that model works. That model works. You got to be careful when you do it and do it strategically, but it works.
He probably took your course, by the way. He probably took your course. He was like, I'm going to use selling
I don't want
services.
to badmouth anybody, but somewhere along the production of that backyard, I did want to say, hey man, take my course because it'll help you manage the milestones and rounds of this project, because it got a little nutty sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
So it's one of we're landscaping our house right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I feel like you and I live parallel lives. By the way,
if I grew out my beard, it would have the same coloring as yours.
Here's the thing. If I shave my face, it looks like the Tutti Frutti pancake from IHOP. It's just going to be a whole
that's no good
circle with like two eyes, and just going to be, people are going to think like, I don't listen. I think it's because of my eyes, but anyway,
because they gloss over when you're talking.
Yeah. Oh dude. I mean, I don't know. I think it's my dead eyes. I don't know what it is, but
so funny.
But the thing is, so the other side to the clients is, you thought you knew what you wanted, and you thought you were like, I want this. And he was like, here's the thing that you really need. And this is what's going to make you enjoy your yard more. And I did this today. I had hopefully they sign, and they'll probably listen to this or whatever. They go, I need SEO to grow my business. That was their first. And this is my second meeting today, and this was with the head honcho this time. And I go, why is that? And they said, well, somebody told me that I needed SEO. I go, okay, cool. When do you need sales? And they're like, well, tomorrow. I'm going to go, great. Do you know how long it takes for SEO to work? And they're like, no. And they've met with 5 other agencies. And and I said, has any of them told you that it takes 30 to 45 days to index your site? It takes another 90 days for you to start to get a keyword and all that kind of stuff really going. And then 6 months from now, when somebody types in blah, blah, blah near me, you might be there.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And I said, has anybody asked you about your website? And they're like, not one person. And I go, can I pull it up? And they're like, yeah. And I show them, and you guide them through the process that you do in your discover process, but you guide them through it and go, you have no header. You just have a beautiful picture of mountains. I have no clue what you do. You could be a lumberjack for all I know, but you don't, because I don't want to give it too away, because I feel like I'm making fun of them, but I'm not. They're great at what they do. But the thing is like, and so then I started walking down, and I said, you don't need just a new website. You need to tell the story of why people should buy from you. Like, what is your service really good about? And then I said, the next thing you need to do is run brand awareness ads while doing SEO. That's going to speed up your SEO. Your SEO is attached to whatever you do with your website, is attached to whatever you do with your ads, and it's attached to doing with your content. And
even traditional marketing as well.
Yeah.
It's all so interconnected.
Yeah. And they just looked at me, and they're like, they told me their budget and all that. And I said, that's great. And I said, what are the other agencies charging? They're like, oh, $9,000-8,000. I was like, just for SEO. And they're like, yeah. I go, great. And I said, and I was very nice about it. But the thing is like, our clients, and if you're a brand designer, if you're a website designer, if you're an ads person, SEO, your prospective clients have no clue how to do what you do.
Yeah.
That's why they've called you.
Yeah.
And the greatest example I can give for years is electricians, plumbers, and everybody in the service industry are the smartest people I've ever met in my life. But for some reason, us homeowners want to treat them like they are beneath us, because they are working on our pipes, they're working on our electrical wires or whatever. I don't think we realize that they could cut cords and cause electricity to come out of our toilet if they wanted to. But because they know what they're doing and the services they're providing, they're adding that value. But for some reason, we don't see it that way. And for a long time, people think when I play golf, I'm there to maintain the golf course. They're like, "Are you here for the water pressure with the sprinkler?" I'm like, "No, I'm here to play golf." Like, but the thing is like, there's a perceived thing of I know it better than you, but I'm hiring you to do this thing.
Yeah.
But they really don't know what they're doing. They have no clue. And if you get your mind wrapped around, they brought you to the party because they don't have somebody to do what they do, like SEO. All you put in your thing, because if you ever get a phone call from somebody and they're asking, "Can you do a brand?" and you just say yes, well, that doesn't tell them anything. Tell them your process, tell them the views, and tell them how you do it, and you start to win more people.
Yeah, it's good. Somehow we have been on for an hour, and I don't know how this happens in these conversations, but we have plowed through. Give me, let's do a little rapid fire to end, but give me, what is the best morsel of advice that you have for a creative entrepreneur thinking to start their agency based on this, the eras that you've had? What's the best piece of advice that you would give somebody?
We want a fast track. We want something quick. And what I've realized over 4 years is you don't get anything quick. And it's like, literally just stay the course and just keep going after it and not try to skip over it. I'm patient enough to go, okay, if I have to do the hard things and I keep going and I keep going, eventually it's going to yield something.
It's good advice. One of the things that I want to highlight from your story, and I think I told you this a few months ago, when you were at an emotional bottom between era 3 and what is now era 4. And one of your thoughts was, I'm thinking about just being me and just doing my solo business and just taking on what I can and what I want to do myself. And I remember thinking, man, what a wasted education that would be, because era 1, era 2, era 3 that you went through all provided you with an education to make era number 4 of scaling your agency a massive success. And if you flee from that and say, I'm just going to stay here where it's safe because those first eras were so hard, then you're not using the education that you just paid so much for. You paid an emotional price, a mental price, a financial price for each of those eras' education. Now use it to make era number 4 the massive success that it should be. And I think that's true for a lot of people. We have this temptation to cower when it didn't work out so well. But instead of that, you should say, oh man, I learned some lessons that are going to help me make it better this time, and leverage that experience. And I love that you came around on that mentally, because now you're back to ambitious Chris, who's out working deals and now getting traction. You're back to that version of you that went away for a few weeks in between era 3 and what is now era 4.
Yep. I mean, look, and don't think that I don't want people to think I'm rolling in it. Like the office space that I have, I had to search and crawl and find an office space that was cheap enough to at least where I could renovate it, and and people love it. It's literally and I couldn't be more grateful for folks like yourself that have been friends and both mentors, because if anybody's made it to this far listening to my cartoon bear voice, like, invest in yourself, like, whether it's Mike's course or whether it's a high caliber leader that that is verified, you're not going to waste time by investing in yourself. And then don't worry about the degrees or whatever, because you're going to get them. You're going to get them when you run a business. You're going to learn finance. You're going to learn. I think I got 3 MBAs at this point, and
I did too. I got my crazy MBA in the trenches of the real world. All right, Chris, we're going to end with a few random and you're the first person to do this on What the Helvetica, but a few random rapid fire questions. You ready?
Let's do it.
Is it wrong for vegetarians to eat animal crackers?
Oh man, does it have bacon on
Rapid
top
fire. Rapid fire. Yeah. No bacon. No bacon.
Oh.
Just animal crackers. If you are an animal rights activist, should you eat animal crackers?
Yes. Because then
I say no. I say live your truth deep. Live your truth deep. Okay, fill in the blank.
I want to convert them.
Fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is
Taylor Smith? Is that what you said?
Taylor Swift is.
I've never
Smith.
heard of him.
This is good.
Is he good? Is he good?
Okay. First celebrity crush.
Only because I've sat on a couch with her, Alicia Moore, and I'll just say that, and I won't say her real name, but it's a color. So there you go. I just
Alicia Moore. Was that the character?
No, that's her real name. But I was a musician of a previous life. I'll let you look it up. I told my wife.
I'm looking at it. Oh, for real? Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let your listeners look it up.
Look it up, everybody.
He was my first crush.
That's a good crush, man. She's freaking one of my favorite of that genre of music. So good. Good crush choice. Favorite junk food?
Oh gosh. Anything with barbecue on top of it. So yeah. I mean, I just had some brisket fries downstairs. It was amazing. So
it's so good. All right. Final question. Are lifeguards attractive?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Of course, yes. Of course.
I don't know. I mean, you haven't been in my neighborhood, so
I guess. Well, if you're going to the local pool, maybe it's not the same as going to the beach. What's the closest beach to you? Like in Savannah, Georgia area somewhere or something? Hilton Head? What's
Hilton Head is one. We're actually going to Seaside, where if anybody wants to see where the Truman Show was filmed, go to Seaside, Florida, 38.
Yeah.
Actually, don't come here. It's getting really crowded. But the Truman Show. They actually built the little town for that movie, and now it's just a really crazy.
People live in it and stuff now?
People live in it. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really our favorite would be. I would say if we're talking about Baywatch era, like where we kind of are back in our day. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's exactly.
We'll
Baywatch is due for a reboot soon, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they tried with a movie. They tried to reboot it with a movie. Didn't take, apparently. I've never seen it.
Yeah. I haven't either.
All right, Chris, this was super fun. Thank you for being on our show today. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so the only channel I'm active, I feel like an old person, but just go to LinkedIn and type in YNDR or Chris Thomas YNDR. I think I'll show up. But if you want to see personal stuff, it's Bearded Seabass on Instagram. And then yndr.com. And if you like the swag that you're seeing on this, hey, I'm announcing it on this. I don't think you even know about this.
I don't, but this vintage swag is not available any longer. This is just for special people like me.
Actually, we might have a couple. Yonderfolks.com. Actually, Yonder spelled out.
Yonderfolks.com.
So you can get your Reagan Bush Yeti Bigfoot 2024 shirt. You can get a hide and seek Yeti shirt. You can get hoodies or hats. Apparently people
so like fun.
Yeah,
it's so good. I have Yonder Folks. I have Yonder Folks up right now. It looks awesome.
Yep,
so fun.
Thanks, man.
Okay, man. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening to What the Helvetica. I hope you enjoyed this episode digging into Chris Thomas and his adventure in scaling his business. Hopefully you learned a few things and got a little nuggets of inspiration for your creative journey. If you like this podcast, please drop a comment or a review inside of your favorite podcast platform, or a comment on our YouTube video. And we have a lot more great guests coming up and a lot more exciting things planned for this show. So we'll see you all again soon.